Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show, ladies. Don't touch that remote. We're going to talk about Norristown, Pennsylvania, the county seat of Montgomery County. My guest today is a councilwoman who is in the first district of Norristown. You know, we have each district, each councilman has a different district, and some have, you know, they're all over town. I forget what they call that.
At large.
Yeah, at large, whatever. Okay, so we're going to talk about Norristown. We're going to talk about the good things, and we're going to think about things that we can do to improve it. And that's what it's all about. We're not here to hurt anybody. We're here to help people and help the community. So my guest is from Norristown, Pennsylvania, Dr. Mary
DeSouza.
How do you say it?
DeSouza.
Okay, good.
One of those
Now,
names that
you know, I'm
you
not the
pronounce
greatest
ways,
guy
but-
on pronouncing names, so I let everybody pronounce their own name. Like my name, my real name is Cisco, C-I-A-C, Chacho Chuchuchuca. So everybody calls me Cisco for short. So, all right, now, tell me something about yourself. You're a council person, right?
Right, Hank.
Now,
Well, first,
and
I
you're not
wanna-
from Norristown. Tell
No,
me where
I'm
you're
not
from.
Norristown. Well, first I want to thank you for inviting me onto your show.
No,
I feel
I'll
very
send you
honored.
the bill later.
Yeah,
no
I'm
problem.
sure you will. I'm not originally from this area, you're right. I actually was born in a place outside of Boston called Newton, Massachusetts. My family's from there. My mother's originally from, well, she was born in Pennsylvania, moved to Ohio. My father's originally from Massachusetts. He was born on Cape Cod.
Cape Cod.
Cape Cod.
Yeah,
and
my niece lives up there. Right?
It's really nice, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't live there anymore, though. They live outside
Yeah.
of Boston. And then through my travels, I ended up in Norristown. But my family's a big Italian-American family, 7 kids and
Wow.
a lot of sharing of things. So
Your brothers?
I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow.
So
I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters.
yeah, so it was a large family.
What part of Italy?
So my mother's father was from Sicily.
Hey,
And
that's mine.
There you go. There's a lot of Sicilians that came to the U.S. obviously during the turn of the
Went to
century.
Boston, right?
Yeah. So my grandfather actually came through Pennsylvania. We don't know if he stopped in Norristown. He came across Ellis Island. We know he came through Pennsylvania. My mother's born in
He's
Newcastle,
legit.
Pennsylvania. Legit. He may be legit. And then her mother was from the Abruzze area, the northern part of Italy.
Yeah,
So they met actually here in the U.S.
Yeah.
and got married. They didn't meet in Italy. So my grandfather came over as a young bachelor, and then raised his family
Go back
here.
and pick her up and bring her over here? Or-
No, she came over with her family.
Oh.
And actually, he was a very simple, humble gentleman. She came from a slightly wealthier family. She actually already spoke English when she came here, but my grandfather didn't speak any English. And he was, a simple man. He actually used to collect scrap metal for the foundries in Youngstown, Ohio. So that's how he raised his family. Hard labor,
Yeah.
and just putting food on the table. And
Well, then you're aware of some of the problems and growing up in a big family.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now, and then how come you come to Norristown? What got you to Norristown?
Well, ultimately, I came to this area for my employment. So I work in the pharmaceutical industry. That's my real job. My
You're a
counsel
doctor,
job-
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. I do clinical research trials for Merck currently, developing drugs for pediatric cancer and for people who have really bad lung disease, so that to help them live longer and do better.
That's me. I got cancer, so
Yeah, well,
I had it, and I got it, and it keeps coming back. And
as we get older, we tend to end up having
yeah, I live
developing-
long enough, you'll get everything,
So that was ultimately, but it was a pretty circuitous route for me to get here. I mean, I started out in Massachusetts. I went to my bachelor's degree in science is from the University of Vermont, which I really enjoyed going up there. And then I moved.
Vermont, beautiful.
It's
yeah.
and the university there is actually very beautiful. But then I went back to Boston where I did an advanced degree, a PhD in science as a scientist. And then from there I moved to Texas for a little while because you have to do
Well,
you have to do studies after you've finished your PhD. So and then looking for employment, I came back to this area. I came back to the Northeast. I
A
lived
lot
in,
of hospitals and medicine outfits around here too, right?
Yes. So in addition to
What is it, Merck?
Merck is the company I work for, yes.
Okay.
So in addition to a lot of really great healthcare facilities in major cities such as Philadelphia, and even here, Einstein's a really good healthcare facility. We're blessed with a lot of pharmaceutical companies right in the area. So if you're interested in
if you want to
doing
swim, you got to
research-
get in the water.
Yes,
Come right
you're
over here where they are.
Right, exactly. So that's what brought me here. I lived in East Norriton for a while, but then I chose to buy my house here in Norristown because I just really love the neighborhoods, the architecture,
That's the
and
first
everything.
district. Now, what's in the first district? Is the boundaries are what?
So basically, if I was to explain it very simply, if you take Stamford Street and go all the way to Forest Ave to West Norriton, that's the east-west sides, and then from the river all the way to the state hospital. Actually, the state hospital is part of my district as well.
Sir,
So
all the way to
all
state
the state
hospital.
hospital is my district, about midway
From
through
Stanbridge
it.
Street.
Yeah, so
Stanbridge Street?
so to the state hospital has a dividing line in the middle of it, where part of it's East Norriton, part of it's Norristown. The portion that's Norristown, where the residents live, is actually in my district. So sometimes we have residents who live at the state hospital who come and vote in at my polling places.
Or the patients.
Yes, yeah, they live there. They're not the most severely psychiatric
I mean, you
patients,
know.
not those subjects, but the people who they have a certain number of patients that live there who
yeah, I
need
know.
continual treatments.
I remember,
and they come and poll at the vote
When I
at
was
the
a
polling
policeman, I
places.
wouldn't give a safety talk with the patients there.
Right, and then
And,
staff also sometimes if that's
Yeah,
their
they're
permanent
all
placement
right.
thing. Yeah.
And they introduced me, and they introduced me. Sergeant Cisco's going to talk about safety, and and so they start clapping. So then the guy's in charge, the MC, says, "Everybody stand up, give me a standing ovation." I got a standing ovation. I didn't even talk yet, But it was a fun night.
There were a lot more people living at the state hospital back when you were on law enforcement. There's very few people there now, but it's still an active facility for people who need that kind of help. Plus, there's a lot of other social service agencies up in that area that utilize those buildings for treatment and so forth. And where we work in partnership with the state facility, the state around that facility. We actually just started a series of community gardens, and one of them is at the state hospital grounds. They gave us a nice piece of land that was not being utilized, so residents of Norristown are able to go and garden for free up there and plant their own gardens.
Well, I think, didn't they call that, during the war, they had, they called it the Victory Garden.
Yeah, so
For victory,
right.
They still have that?
No, those gardens went away. They also used to have a really nice sitting area, the Rose Garden, and obviously through budget cuts and stuff, a lot of that kind of plant work and horticultural went away at the state hospital as part of our partnership with, and now it's the residents who are doing the partnership with the state hospital, not so much the municipality. As part of that partnership, the residents are expected to help bring back, like plant some rose bushes, prune some bushes and so forth, but also to garden. Gardening is a great way to extend your budget. You got great home produce, homegrown.
I'd like to go up there and grow some basil so I can have some pasta sauce.
Sure enough, you're more than welcome. I'll give you the
I'd like
forms
do
to
that,
fill out.
All right, now, as a council member, what are some of the things you did or proposed or you can take credit for, or you assisted someone, or tell me something?
Well, I don't think, first off, any single council member can take credit for any one thing,
right, I have not
because
said,
we
right.
all have to vote
But you have
in
to
agreement.
drop the seed.
We all bring our ideas to the table, and we flush out which ones are the
Right.
best. A lot of the focus is, I've been on council only 2 years currently. I actually replaced Mila Hayes, who was previously the district council member. She resigned the position early, and so I was asked to step into that shoes, and then I ran in a special election 2 years ago. So
You won an election. You did win an election.
Yes, I was appointed, and then I had to run in a special. I was appointed in January of 2011, and I had to run in a special election in May 2011, and I won that election very well. And I've gotten to know a lot of my constituents in Norristown, in that district, and then in other places in Norristown as well. But one of the things before I came onto council I realized was our code department had some inefficiencies in it. And as you may know, Hank,
Caused a lot of problems.
the code department is responsible for making sure every building in Norristown is safe and habitable. And that's a big, tall order for any one department to do.
3 square miles.
3.5 square miles, but over 14,000 buildings. So that's a lot to spread out between a fairly small code department. And those code agents have to be trained to understand what they need to look for. Obviously, we write citations and we have ordinances upheld. And then we also work with companies that do more extensive things. So if a building's going to be built like USM or a new apartment complex, we have a company that reviews all the plans, does all the inspections, so that we have that high level of oversight, so every building is safe in Norristown. But when I first came onto council, I realized that the code department could do more. They could work a little more efficiently. At that time, we were using an outside company that I didn't feel was giving us the best price advantage. You know, one of the things that Norristown is actually a great asset for companies to work with because they can make money working for us. You know, whether it's trash pickup or doing inspections on properties or doing snow plowing. You know, so when we hire a vendor, you know, a third party to do this work, they make money. So we have a lot of need there and a lot of money they can make. So we should be very competitive. So whenever we have a vendor that comes to us and says, I want to do your business, they need a bid. And they need to be competitive, and they have to meet our needs. And if they're not meeting our needs, then we find another person. So the previous company we had doing a lot of our inspections I didn't feel was meeting that mark. Their customer service wasn't good.
Let me ask you, do you always go with the lowest bidder?
On state grants and stuff, we have to. That's the requirement. For other contracts, such as these engineering firms and stuff, we don't have to go with the lowest bidder. We look at what are the different requirements.
How about if you put out a bid and then the guy says, okay, he's the cheapest one, and you find out he didn't comply with.
Well, then we fire them, and then we find another company to come in.
You know, John Glenn, he's the first guy to go up into space, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And the first interview he had is with the ministerial committee of churches down in Atlanta, Georgia. And all these ministers and priests and rabbis, and they asked him, Colonel Glenn, what goes through a guy's mind when he's sitting in a capsule, you know, and ready to be shot up in the air? He says, like you're going to see angels and heaven, and you know. He says, what goes through your mind? He says, well, Reverend, I remember very much, everything that went through my mind when I was ready to be shot up there. I remember that underneath me I had 183 moving parts, and every one was awarded to the lowest bidder. So the lowest bidder,
well,
so I don't know.
In the U.S. government system, you know, whether it's federal, state, or local, we have certain rules we have to follow, and then it is a lowest bidder thing. Other countries like England, it's not the lowest bidder; it's the second lowest bidder.
Oh yeah.
So it's a way. So you know, when you open those bids, the lowest bidder is not going to win. It's the second lowest bidder because they think it actually evens it. So you're not going to get somebody undercutting a bid on doing shoddy work. But when we bid out things, especially anything that relates to roads, bridges, buildings, that's why we have inspection firms. That's why we have engineering firms and other inspection firms to make sure whoever we're contracting with is following the necessary construction laws in Pennsylvania, and also international construction laws apply in Norristown. We have the International Construction Code, ICC, which we apply. It's the highest standard there is in the world. And that's one of the things that when you come to Norristown, if a building has been built, it's been built with the highest standards worldwide. So that's something we should be proud of, that we hold it to that high level. We don't want substandard buildings here. Right. So, but in the 2 years that I've been working on council with the code department, now I don't work directly with them, I work indirectly with them. We've cut about $200,000 out of that budget for that department alone. That money we then able to put back into other departments, for example, fire and police. So it really helps shift the money where we need